So next speaker, Brian Zimmerman. Brian started when he was a kid to be interested by freshwater fishes. He studied natural research management in Wisconsin, USA, where he comes from. He is assistant curator in London Zoo Aquarium from 10 years, and he works on endangered, non-charismatic freshwater species.
Thank you, Pierre. This afternoon, I guess we'll be sticking with a Greek theme. The title of my presentation is a follow-up survey to the critically endangered Greek killifish, Valencia leternutsi in Greece. This is a joint project by the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, Institute of Inland Waters, and the Zoological Society of London, and it was generously funded by the European Union of Aquarium Curators. Just to give you a little background about the target species, the common name in English is usually the Corfu tooth carp. Corfu is the island where the species was first described by Sauvage in 1880. It is in the group called killifishes, or the order Cyprinodontiformes. It's one of two species in the genus and the family Valenciidae. The other one being Valencia hispanica, which is actually found in this region of Spain. And on Sunday, I'm looking forward to the trip to the breeding facility for the Spanish species. They're very small fish, 8 centimeters in total length. They're considered glacial relics, so they're a group of fish that survived the last glaciation in isolated pockets along the Mediterranean coast. Valencia leternutsi is unique to Greece and one location in Albania. And in 2006, the species was upgraded to critically endangered status by the IUCN. It's also officially protected by the Berne Convention. These are the reasons for its threat according to the IUCN. Habitat destruction, water abstraction, and especially aggressive interaction with Gambusia affinis. It's undergone a suspected population decline of at least 50% in the last 10 years, and it's projected to lose another 80% of its population in the next 10 years. It's a species with very restricted distribution. It's a habitat specialist, and it lives in very severely fragmented habitats. It's also listed as one of the 24 most endangered fauna species in Europe. This map shows the distribution of Valencia leternutsi. The blue dots there show the sites where the species has been sampled in recent years. The most southern one in the Peloponnese is actually an extinct population, and 3 of the sites on the island of Corfu are also extinct. Just a little background of the initial survey in 2005. With funding from EUAC, we managed to survey 95 sites in 14 watersheds. We found the fish in 21 of those sites and in 10 different watersheds. During the survey, we recorded things like sympatric species, the physical chemical parameters of the water. We noted anthropogenic disturbances, and we obtained specimens where necessary for genetic analysis. Since the 2005 survey, a full report has been produced and distributed. Several publications and posters have been produced. There's been ongoing analysis of the diet and the genetics of the species, as well as studies on the interaction with Gambusia. There's also been the discovery of a potential or a possible acanthocephalin parasite found in fish from almost every single site. We're working with the Natural History Museum to identify this parasite, and the initial findings indicate that it could be a severe contribution to the species decline. So the 2009 survey was just last month. We investigated 4 new potential sites. We obtained genetic specimens where needed. We also revisited a couple of key sites from 2005 where we noted some potential disturbances. We also did a little side trip to the Almeri Springs, which is in the Peloponnese, trying to find the critically endangered Almeri killifish, Aphanius almeriensis. The first site we went to was Cryonary Springs in Galatas on the mainland on the west coast. This is a very tiny site which is quite characteristic for this species. The actual spring was only about 1 hectare in size. The area is used for recreational rock climbers, and you can see from the top picture there's a very, very steep vertical wall, and so it's quite popular with rock climbers. It's also a camping area. We did find the species here, but in very small numbers and only juveniles, despite the fact that it was towards the end of the breeding season. The good thing was there were no gambusia at the site, but we did find a lot of other sympatric native species, including the endemic goby, Economodictes pygmaeus. There were freshwater crabs, shrimps, and frogs as well. The second site, which we were very excited about, was on Corfu, where we declared the species extinct in 2005. We received some information from hobbyist groups in Germany and in the UK that there was an additional site on the north of the island near the village of Sidari in the Melisudi stream, which is at the very northwest part of Corfu. We went to the 2 locations that were suggested on the stream, and we could not find any Valencia, but we did find lots of gambusia. This area is heavily used for tourism. There's lots of development and a lot of evidence of pollution. We did go up to a third site further upstream after getting a tip off from a farmer about an access area, and we were very fortunate to find the fish there in very good numbers, all different age and size classes present. However, the habitat itself did seem to suffer from quite a bit of disturbance. That we learned that there was an olive press a few kilometers upstream, and all of its waste was dumped into the stream. You can see the oil slick on the top there. Also, both sides of the stream, there was heavy agriculture use, and so they were pumping water for irrigation, and then all the runoff was going back into the stream. The third site was the Vuvos stream near Kypseli, back on the mainland. We learned about a paper by Dawson in 1985 that had sampled there and found the fish, and that was a location we didn't go in 2005. When we got to the site, we learned that there was very little agricultural activity in the area, and the water from the spring was not actually used for the municipality, so that was quite a bonus. However, there's a very large quarry just uphill from the stream, and a cement works factory associated with the quarry. And basically the cement trucks come in continuously all day long, fill up, pump water from the stream, mix it, they wash their vehicles, they clean the insides of the cement mixers out, and all of this runoff goes directly into the main stream. Despite that, we did find good numbers of the fish present in there. Also, very few gambusia were present. We only caught a couple of them. So we think that that's probably a factor of why Valencia persisted in the area. This area had a great deal of freshwater biodiversity, lots of other fish, frogs, and crustacean species, as well as a lot of bird life. The final site was a very quick stop-off. We had a tip-off that the fish did live in this spring in the Castri Springs near the village of Castri. The access was very difficult here, very overgrown vegetation, very fast-flowing water, not typically characteristic of Valencia habitat, but nonetheless we did find the species there in small numbers, and again, no gambusia. We went back to one of the best sites for the species that we've sampled in 2005, which was in the Acheron Delta. We found large numbers of fish there in 2005. It's a fairly extensive delta wetlands, very important for bird species. There's an expanding tourism market in the area with lots of new hotels being built along the coast. And when we were there in 2005, the local municipality complained that during the winter season the delta would be flooded by seawater, which was hindering the development for tourism. We did have a look for fish there, and we found some, but we also discovered they were in the very advanced and near completed stages of building a drainage tunnel, which is being cut right through the hillside there. And there was all evidence of big earth movers digging trenches to try and drain the water off. And obviously that has an unknown impact for Valencia and other wildlife in the area. I strongly suspect that it will drain the entire delta region, or at least channelize the flow, which would probably be big trouble for the fish. I mentioned we went to the Almiri Springs in the Peloponnese. This is the type locality for a recently described species of killifish, Aphanius almeriensis, only described in 2007. It is one of the only 2 known sites for this fish in the world. And as soon as it was described, it was listed by IUCN as critically endangered due to its very restricted range and all of the anthropogenic disturbances in its habitat. The year before, a team from HCMR went there and did extensive sampling and could not find the fish, however, but we wanted to go back in a different season to see if we had any luck. When we arrived, we found extensive evidence of human activity. There's a large beach there, very popular for people, tourists, and swimmers. There were pollution impacts visible, including illegal dumping. And what was interesting was the water of the springs appeared to be nearly full-strength seawater, and when we tested it, it was practically full strength. Unknown reasons for this, but obviously changed the habitat. You can see in the top photograph there's a wall that was built there to retain the spring water, and it was probably used for bathing in historical times. Now the entire area is just filled with anemones and marine species, which, although this type of killifish can tolerate high levels of salt in the water, I don't know that it would be able to tolerate the effects of predation from anemones and large numbers of marine fish. They're generally not very good competitors. And we didn't find any of them in this trip either. At the end of this trip, we had a meeting to discuss what we would want to do next in terms of conservation for the fish in Greece. And it was agreed that continued monitoring of the key sites was essential in order to get a full picture of what the main problems were and how the different populations were doing. There's an ongoing study in the HCMR of the diseases and the genetics of the different populations. We discussed exploring possibilities for more habitat protection within the legal framework. As I mentioned, the species is protected by the Berne Convention, yet there's very little actual protection for it on the ground. We wanted to identify key sites for further conservation measures and restoration. Whether or not any of these sites, some of them very near to Natura 2000 boundaries, whether the boundaries could be extended or changed to encompass the habitat that the fish lives in. And also we wanted to look at education possibilities for school children and university students. This shows a kiosk right near the Cryonary Springs, the area where the rock climbers go. It's a nice little potential education site. We could talk about the fish, bring local school children there and so forth to try and sort of build awareness. Captive management of populations as a safety net is considered a key priority for this fish, given the threats it faces. Unfortunately, there's no captive populations of the fish in Greece. There's the only public aquarium that's keeping the fish is ours at London Zoo, and it's held by several hobbyist collections in Germany, Spain, and Britain. But obviously, that's kind of a precarious place for a fish of this level of threat to be kept in. So obviously we're seeking other aquarium involvement in the future. I'd just like to thank the European Union of Aquarium Curators for part funding the project. Also the British and German Killifish Associations for giving us lots of information and site locality data. And of course the partners in the project, Hellenic Center for Marine Research, and especially Eleni Kalogianni for making the 2009 trip such a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Somebody have a question? So, thank you. No question?
No. Thanks.
Okay.